Quadcast. What 20 years of disability has taught me. We help people overcome adversity and find freedom through writing. Behind the walls. My health predicament deprives me of many things in life. And to be totally honest, one of the worst things is my inability to live at home. In fact, because of my disability, it's hard to even visit the place that I call home. So instead, I am subject to community living. Now, to be specific, I live in disability-supported accommodation. Well, that's the technical term. Only in reality and in layman terms, it's much more like I'm living in a mini nursing home, especially nowadays. Then, somehow, pair that definition with the ambiance of the Big Brother house. Yep, now that's exactly what I call home. It's a melting pot of personalities, opinions, egos, and even cultural differences. Then, combine that with the needs and wants of the people that live here, to then add in the needs and the wants of staff and management. It's like a pressure cooker, simmering 1 minute and boiling over the next. Short staff, changing medical needs, bureaucracy. It's a constantly evolving thing. Yeah, it's like a world within a world. Anyhow, this home that I speak of, it's a residence with 4 separate houses. Each house is maybe a little bit bigger than a normal house, then there's a corridor that links them all together. Further, each individual house has 5 bedrooms, 2 lounge rooms, and an office storeroom. Then on-site, there's also an office block too. The service has been specifically designed for persons with chronic respiratory conditions and high needs care. I've been here for 9 years now. Actually, I was one of the original residents when this place first opened. And with that, I've seen many changes over the years, in particular from an outlook of self-determination for those living with disabilities to now one of an overmanaged bunch of folk who now have a body corporate obsessed with covering their asses. However, in a weird way, I do think the residents have allowed this to happen. When you're sick and getting sicker, bureaucracy isn't really a priority, but it could be worse. Before this, I was bouncing around in between hospitals and with absolutely no self-determination at all. I'd have to almost eat, drink, and shit on cue. You see, I ended up in a hospital ward for 3 months where the nurses completely ruled the roost, and I was not allowed to stay up longer than 6 p.m. on any given night. I even once had a bet with one of the nurses, which I won, to let me stay up late one night. It turned out to be the first time I'd seen the night sky in months. As part of this journey, I also met all these, what I thought at the time, were unusual people. I'd just never experienced people in this physical condition before. In fact, there was this one guy who had a wheelchair bed, which was then surrounded by mirrors so that he could see, and when having a conversation with him, I never knew where to look. Then I lived with him. Actually, disability was quite confronting for me at first because I guess I just didn't understand it, and I felt awkward. Discrimination was never my intention, but I was scared. I just thought a person was their body when in reality, they are in fact their mind. Obviously, I was still yet to learn many things in life. So nevertheless, this motley crew from the ward, myself included, we all moved to these new houses, the ones where I'm at now. At first, it was such a sense of relief and excitement. We, us being the original residents, even got to set up the houses, furniture included. But again, it was the people who made the experience, especially the staff. In fact, I've come to believe that it's the people who make any situation great. I've worked with mums, I've had drug addicts look after me, and even some total buttholes too. I tell you, caring is a really mixed bag. Together with, oh man, I've heard some amazing stories and made some great friends too. Overall, I think I've been very lucky. There's been many fun times over the years, from sports days to barbecues, concerts to drunken sprawls. With my cares, I was lucky enough to still experience a social life. I've also learned that most people care, but then again, there are those to who caring is just a job. So it still can be far from smooth sailing. Much like as I mentioned earlier, my health predicament deprives me of many things. And living in this sort of environment, privacy is one of the luxuries you tend to forego the most. Now that could mean anything from personal care to toileting. Or, as some of you may have also experienced, having a complete stranger shower you. This could then manifest into having people know and gossip about even the smallest intricacies of my life. I can't even imagine how many people who have discussed my life and choices without my knowledge, at times disguised as handover. Patience is another thing I've had to learn. I can't even describe how long I can wait for some things daily, and now I even consider myself able to outwait anybody. I can sit in silence for hours. Can you even imagine feeling like a cup of tea, and then without distraction, sitting for an hour until you have it? And don't even get me started if I have to scratch an itch. So yeah, these are some of the things that can happen when your life falls apart. Then combine that with being flung into a house with 5 complete strangers, all bidding for the staff's attention. It can provide for some interesting times. A house of misfits with a mere common ground of disability, but we all seem to have each other's back. Well, most of the time. The journeys here are vast. Some people come to die and others live. In fact, I've watched some good friends wither away and die right in front of my eyes. It can be at times a very emotional and intense place to live. A strange complexity of raw, real intimacies. A microcosm encapsulating life and its struggles like no other place on earth. And I'm not sure where I fit in, and it'll never be home.